Thank you, Allison. This is my second time speaking at Newman Lumen, but the first time was when we were all virtual. And I was joking about reusing my first talk because I thought maybe it didn't get that many views, but I was really surprised, even though we were all zoomed out, those recorded Newman Lumens, they got hundreds and hundreds of views. So instead of writing a proper talk, a couple of days ago, I stayed up way past my bedtime watching a lot of those virtual talks. And when I was joking about wanting to recycle this talk, I was also kind of joking that for me, the theme, it's always the same because, this is a different theme this semester. And what I mean, every Newman Lumen I've attended, every Newman Lumen that I watched online, there are some triumphant stories, there are some sad parts to some of these stories, but no matter what the story, there was a common thread that ran through each of them, really like showing me the resilience of the human spirit. And that common thread seemed to be a thread of hope. In dreaming, we can talk about dreaming as a type of hope from an Islamic perspective. But a few things really come to my mind when I think of dreaming. One is a tradition from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, which addresses the subject of prophecy. Prophets in Islam, it's a little different. They're human beings that are awakened, enlightened people, models of pure goodness and guides back to our source. So Muhammad said, the dream of the believer is one of 46 parts of prophecy, and whatever's from prophecy cannot be false. So this is really getting into metaphysics, that this is naming that some people, they see the future in their dreams. And there's a Persian Sufi poet, Hafiz, has said, of course things like that can happen. That kind of sounds pretty mysterious and mystical to some of us, but as a Muslim, I'm moving through a world that's not just dead matter. Everything for me is infused with spirit. And when you live in a world where everything is infused and permeated by spirit, it's harder to abuse the environment. It's harder to harm other human beings. And it's not harder just because of a book of rules, but it's harder because those actions weigh heavy on your heart. If your heart wakes up. Imam Ali, this is another saying that came to mind, Imam Ali was Muhammad's cousin, a great spiritual teacher in the Islamic tradition, and a figure that a lot of the Sufis, the Islamic mystics, trace their lineage back through. He said people are asleep, and when they die, they wake up. Framing this as this world is a field where we strive, we pull weeds, we plant seeds, we work for good, and we put in effort. But much of the harvest that's coming to us is going to be gathered after our spirits leave these bodies and they move on to our eternal abode. The garden is what heaven's called in the Quran, which I think is really lovely. The garden. So if we're asleep and we move through our lives, we're only feeding and tending to our own egos and our desires and our quest to accumulate more stuff. We can really miss out on the beautiful work that the world needs us to do in the here and the now. But I also think of dreaming, of course, as the hope for a better tomorrow. And when we connect our dream to doing good, when we connect our dreams to the present moment, it feels like we receive help to accomplish what's right and what's good. I spent some time trying to track down who said this quote. It's attributed to pretty much anybody and everybody, but in some form or another. But the quote, I really like this: watch your thoughts, they become words. Watch your words, they become deeds. Watch your deeds, they become habits. Watch your habits, they become character. And character is everything. So this is so interesting. What you think, what you intend, really affects what you become. There's a saying in Islam that actions are judged by their intentions. So the intention is super powerful in my tradition. So as we move toward these big dreams that we have, I think it can be helpful to try to be vigilant and pay attention to how we are in the moments leading up to the fulfillment of that dream. I've also been joking about telling a story about an ant. I had one story about my aunt, but this is about a little ant. So once upon a time, there was an ant that wanted to go to the holy pilgrimage to Mecca, the Hajj. So in the Hajj, we visit the Kaaba. You may have seen a picture or video of the Kaaba. It looks like a black box, and it's in the middle of the desert. But this is the structure that we believe it's the first house of worship ever constructed to God, to the one God. So this ant was small, even for an ant. This was small, a small ant. And all the ants told him that there's no way he could reach this destination. He couldn't reach the Kaaba by walking, even in 100 lifetimes. But the ant made the intention, and the ant set out to fulfill these sacred rites and spent most of the day walking. He saw a group of people that spread out a blanket, and they began having a meal. And the ant climbed on the blanket and was enjoying some crumbs of bread, and the people finished their meal. They rolled up the blanket with the ant inside. They went on to travel a long distance, and the next time the blanket was laid out for the meal, the ant found himself in the city of Mecca, right in front of the Kaaba, the holy house of pilgrimage. So although the ant was small and limited in capacity, the ant's intention allowed him to be taken up and delivered to the Kaaba, to the house of God. In the Quran, it says, whoever has faith in God in the last day, and whoever is mindful of God, God will make a way out for them and provide for them from sources they could never imagine. And whoever puts their trust in God, then God alone is sufficient for them. Certainly God achieves his will. God has already set a destiny for everything. So I want to leave you with something that I did find as I was watching all those old Newman Lumen videos. This is from my video. It's interesting. I'll see if any of the language sounds like it's relevant to this semester's topic. I invite you all to dream about what could be. I invite you to dream about what actions that you, with your unique gifts, can offer our world. My dream for our future here at Elon is that we extend mercy and grace towards each other, regardless of religious, racial, political, or any other identities that we hold. Mercy in Arabic is from the same triliteral root as the word womb. Mercy is a loving container that expands to accommodate, protect, and nourish. In extending mercy to each other, we make space for people to speak their truth, their fears, and their hopes. So may we leave here with hope, and may we dream big about the contributions we can make to a world that's in such great need. Thank you.